Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always change this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change. All right, William Dunks, Jake Uger, Brad Ehrlich. Let's go, Brad. Wait, that's a different story.
Let's go, Brandon. Brandon is the TD today, so
well, there you go.
That's the Brandon with a EN. We'll go.
Yeah, well, that's I'm sure what they intended. Okay, that's a story in the rundown. In fact, it's the first one up. You'll see it in a second. We've got lots of fun stories for you guys. The right wing, of course, has turned on each other. That's always delicious. Candace versus Donald Trump. Navarro jumps in off the top rope. But which side is he on? Oh, it's the Vax Wars. You're gonna love it. Okay, are we in the holiday spirit? I guess. We're gonna have a fun show, I guess. All right, Brett Ehrlich, you can tell I'm in a mode.
Oh, Anna, I just want to say before we get into this story, that one, the Vax Wars, I downplayed it in the morning meeting how much I wanted to do that story. JR will be doing it in the second hour. I was very nice and courteous. I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I want it so bad. I've been thinking about it all day. So everybody stay tuned. It's gonna be an amazing, amazing story later on in the show. But we have news to get to, so let's get right into it.
Yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas as well. Merry Christmas, and let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree.
So that moment you just watched took place in basically a question and answer time for NORAD, where the president and first lady basically were taking questions like happens every year. You can call NORAD and find out where Santa Claus is, but a certain individual decided to take advantage of that very heartwarming moment to just totally own Joe Biden in a way that's universally funny, not pathetic in any way. You might be wondering what was the context for all of that. We're gonna later on show you what happened when that man went on Steve Bannon's show in order to explain himself. But first, here is the extended clip of the guy who told Joe Biden, "Let's go, Brandon."
Oh, that's great.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, oh, that's wonderful that you have a 2-year-old.
Well,
have a Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful Christmas.
and by the way, you guys have to be in bed by 9 o'clock, and asleep between 9 and 12, or he doesn't show up.
This isn't to you, Jared. This is to the kids.
That's right.
I hope you have a wonderful
Hey,
Christmas.
well, yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas as well.
Oh,
Merry
thank you.
Christmas, and let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree. Hey, by the way, where are you in Oregon? Where's your home? I think we lost him.
I just wanted to play that whole extended clip because if you thought the "Let's go, Brandon" moment was the cringiest part of it, no, it wasn't. The entire minute-long thing. We'll show you what he said when he had to explain himself to Steve Bannon. But Cenk, what are your reactions?
So a couple things. Number one, Merry Christmas. Go F yourself. I'm a right winger who believes in family values. Do you? It's okay. Pick one or the other. Hey, we're rude, we're terrible, we love to insult the others. I just told the president to F off. That's what "Let's go, Brandon" means. It means F you, Joe Biden. It's from a chant. You all know this, right? The only person who apparently doesn't know it in the country is Joe Biden. That was amazing. He repeated it, okay? So was it slightly amusing in that way? Yeah, sure. But you can't say, no, we're family values, we're upright Christians, no, we hate the war on Christmas, we're all about Jesus Christ. I don't think Jesus was one to be much like, "Let's go, Brandon, let's go, Brandon." Okay, so it doesn't really quite feel like the Christmas spirit there. Somebody's got to tell Joe Biden like the world's simplest internet memes, especially ones associated with him, so he doesn't repeat it.
There's so much about this that is fascinating and pathetic and ridiculous. When I first watched it, I was like, I'm not sure Joe Biden doesn't know what this is. But maybe he's a seasoned enough politician, but like watching it 3 and 4 times, I just couldn't help but go, yeah, he doesn't know what this is. I don't know what Joe Biden's doing most of the time. I feel like he doesn't know what he's doing maybe a fifth of the time.
At least.
But I just don't know how immersed in all of this stuff he is to know it or not. But what strikes me is like this guy, it is just like a Christmas show where you call in and you have your kids there, and your kids get to ask, where is Santa Claus? And oh my God, the president's there. It's supposed to be a time where you just, for the benefit of your children, you lie to them. And I feel like this guy, he can exercise his First Amendment right. I don't begrudge him taking advantage of an opportunity to do that. But just looking at it, man, this is pretty pathetic to do it in this moment. And I love all the right wingers who are just fist bumping like, I totally nailed it because I'm so bold that I used the code to tell the president on Christmas to go F himself.
Look, again, I'm not mainstream media. I don't really care, right? So I'm not offended by "Let's go, Brandon," but don't get offended when people say it back. Oh, by the way, go F yourself. And Donald Trump, he's a loser and he should go F himself. And I could get way more graphic than that, but I know you're not offended. because that wouldn't make any sense. You say it to Biden without any hesitation at all. In fact, I'd like to say in the spirit of Christmas, F Donald Trump, what a loser. Okay, you guys don't mind, right? Because I don't mind. I just don't want you I don't want you to catch feelings for some reason. I mean, you're not a beta, right? So, okay, now here's a funny part. Remember, this is the same show, the thing that they do where they track Santa. It used to be cute, like, oh yeah, well, where's Santa? Nothing's cute anymore. Okay, let's remember when Trump, in that same situation, said to a 7-year-old, "Are you still a believer in Santa? Because it's 7, it's marginal, right?" He said that.
It's so ridiculous.
Said that to a 7-year-old.
That is. I don't know, yes, I am a dead inside 39-year-old guy, so I kind of respect that more. But it's the reason I selected that clip to play from that part is Joe Biden just got done saying "Oh my God, it's so amazing you have a 2-year-old," and the guy's sitting in the living room with the 2-year-old. He explained himself to the Oregonian, and here's a quote from Jared Schmeck, the guy.
Okay, it's perfect. His name is Schmeck.
We were talking on the morning meeting today how I love the word schmeckle. It's just it's not even a word, but it's Jared Schmeckle says, "At the end of the day, I have nothing against Mr. Biden." What?
Really?
But I'm frustrated because I think he can be doing a better job. I mean no disrespect to him.
No. You can't have it both ways. You can tell him to F off, or you can have respect for him, but you can't have both. Okay, so Schmeckle, stop lying. Okay, so don't worry, he's gonna stop lying when he gets to right-wing media.
Right, and so here's the thing. So I'm gonna tell you what happened right before he went on Steve Bannon's show, and then how he did that thing that we know right-wingers to do all the time after they try to be decent for a half a second, and then they get caught by all their peers who are like, "No, that's wrong. You've got to be the worst person at all time for no reason." So here is a quote that from the Oregonian who did a write-up after talking to him, saying, "Schmeck said he's not a Trumper, but described himself as a free-thinking American and follower of Jesus Christ." Now, this subject came up when he went on the War Room with Steve Bannon on the Real America Network, I think it's on, and that "I am not a Trumper" argument seemed to vanish, as you'll know by his headwear. But pay attention for the extended clip and what happens at the end as Bannon tosses to break. But here is Jared Schmeck explaining himself.
They both picked up the phone. It was clear that it was not a recording. I didn't know it was being live streamed at that time. And throughout the conversation, it popped into my head, and I guess the rest is history. For me, Let's Go Brandon is, and I've said it in other articles, I am a Christian man. For me, it's God first and foremost. I don't follow any one man blindly. Some of the media has run with that and said I don't support Donald Trump. That's absolutely false. Donald Trump is my president, and he should still be president right now. The election was 100% stolen. So I just want to make that clear.
It's more than you can say in a day, but you summed it up in about 3 seconds when you actually said that. And we're a big part of the FJB movement also. And we think it summarizes a political philosophy of everything you talked about. That the elections have consequences, and stolen elections have catastrophic consequences. And we're seeing those catastrophic consequences all around us, and so is all America, because that's why they're imploding. That's why, with this chaos that's happened over the Christmas holidays, it's just insane.
So FJ Biden in Excelsis Deo, he's talking about F the president. I thought it was like a scene from an Adam McKay movie where they just bring in the music that is the complete opposite of whatever ridiculousness this guy is spouting. But this Jared Schmeck says he's a Christian, and that explains everything in his life. What do you think?
There's so many great things in here. For me, it's God first and foremost. That's why I like to tell presidents and everyone else that I can find, F off, okay? That's what God first and foremost, and he told me to go F yourself, okay? Go Jesus Christ. I mean, really? And by the way, yeah. I mean, that movie, Don't Look Up, had mixed reviews, which is hilarious because the media caught feelings over it because it was so over the top, but completely accurate. So we're having a legitimate debate about whether FU is the actual Christmas spirit. Like the right wingers are like, well, I mean, God and Jesus, and so F the president, right? Yeah. Right? And so now we have to counter. No, that's not really the Christmas spirit. I mean, this is the insanity of current day America. So let me go to our members here and you guys using Super Chat because they made such great points. I love how smart our audience is. Vadim Alagan wrote in, when the Pope goes out to his balcony in the Vatican, the crowd cheers, F Satan, don't they? Don't they? Isn't that a thing? And the right wing will be like, yeah, I think that's what I think e pluribus unum means. No, wait, that doesn't have anything to do with the Pope. That's not, all right, anyway. Super Greggy Pants wrote in, you had a once in a lifetime chance to critique the president with an audience of millions, and instead you say, let's go, Brandon. If only Cenk had called in. Now, thank you for saying that. It's very nice of you. But yeah, if you wanted to do a legitimate critique, that would be an amazing time to do it. It's still not exactly the appropriate atmosphere, but we were like, if you were like, what happened to you canceling $10,000 in student loans?
Right.
And then that would get a ton of attention. Everybody like, wait a minute, he did say that, and he didn't cancel the student loans. Oh my God, Joe Biden's a liar. Now that is actually a much more powerful critique of Joe Biden, more effective critique of Joe Biden, and puts him on the spot. But the right wing does not have an effective critique of Joe Biden because they actually agree with almost all of his legislation or his lack of legislation. He passed one corporate bill, that's the infrastructure bill, which the right wing loves. Okay, they pretend, oh no, go, he twisted our arms into giving corporations giant deals. Oh, golly gee, we are so mad at Joe Biden. In fact, a lot of the Republicans even voted for that bill. That's how you know it's filled with corporate donor goodies, because they never give him a vote otherwise. Meanwhile, he's done nothing else. You'll see later in the show, Ben Shapiro actually totally agrees with Joe Biden's accomplishments or lack thereof. They love that Biden's doing nothing. So since they have no critique of him, they're like, oh, lower wages, no healthcare, we love it, right? Oh, I don't know, I got nothing left. I don't like you, F you, right? That's who they are. And finally, I am Sock in the member section says, this Schmeck guy is now considering running for office. I don't know if that's true, but that's the amazing part. We're all in an Adam McKay movie. Could that guy run for office? Of course he can. Could he win? Of course he can. On just the strength of saying F you to a lib. He owned the libs.
Yeah.
Good enough. Okay.
Like I think back on Joe the plumber, right? Like that was at least an attempt to like get into the mind of a working class human being, and that was John McCain calling out Joe the plumber, and Joe the plumber became a thing, and at least he was like a plumber. This guy, all he did, and I love the Adam McKay comparison because it is in something as ridiculous as having the president of the United States talk about the location of Santa on the NORAD site, which is like a huge military giant dollar investment that we have spent millions and millions of dollars to monitor all the goings on Earth from the satellite. And they're using it for like funsies on a time to talk to that. And this guy jumps in and says, F Joe Biden. And last thing I'll say is like, at least with the F Donald Trump comments, two things. One, the F Donald Trump comments, whenever I saw a video of someone going and blasting the F Donald Trump song, it was like at a MAGA rally. It made more sense in context. It was someone going and blowing up the scene of a place where people were being terrible. This is like kids celebrating Santa Claus. I guess that's my only last point, but I think it's absolutely stupid.
Yeah, you're forcing me into a last point. You twisted my arm. I remember that lady who gave Donald Trump's motorcade the middle finger.
Yeah.
And I think she got fired, right? Like, how dare you? That is disrespectful to the beloved, cherished president of the United States. And that was the right-wing position.
Yeah.
She was unbelievably crass and needed to be canceled. How dare she do that to the president? And now they're all like, after president, you're for Jesus. And they genuinely believe it. So yeah, it's scary to live on the same planet as these folks, but it's also kind of amusing. They like have no sense of logic or reason at all, and it's kind of hilarious.
Yep. All right, we should take a break. That's one story down. We got 4 more to go in this hour, so let's free up some time by taking a break. When we come back, we have someone who smacked grandpa on a plane, and I don't know who the good guy is in that situation. And then also,
I know who the bad guy is.
I know who the bad guy is in the next story, Ben Shapiro versus Ilhan Omar. Don't go away, we got more after this.
All right, back on TYT. Here's a way to go, let's go right wing. But that doesn't work, right? I'm doing let's go Brandon version, but it's not working. So what do? We need a different name, like let's go Billy Bob. That means F Trump.
I have no idea.
All right, we'll come up with something. Anyway, you want to say let's go Billy Bob? Get a 2 strong coffee.
There's a good one. Let's go Billy Bob. That's just, I feel like it's not going to be worse than let's go Brandon. When even like Brandon's like, this is stupid. Like the actual Brandon they were talking about.
Yeah, all right. Anyways, 2 strong coffee are suckers. They've left up their Christmas specials when we're past Christmas. It's as if they're celebrating the whole holidays, and that makes no sense. This is a Christian country, okay? But these libs at 2 strong coffee don't realize it. You can still get $52 off. They're crazy. 2strongcoffee.com/TYT, okay? Check it out. By the way, delish. Okay, now moving forward. Turks and jerks. I need you guys voting. There's a poll at YouTube community, okay? So we're doing it tomorrow. Hello? That's at 5 o'clock Eastern. That's right after the show. 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. That's gonna be, me, John, Rashad Ritchie, and Nina Turner for the ultimate Turk and jerk. We've already got our selections. It's your job now. You go find the worst people, the best people, and you tell us which one you like the most, okay? Go to the YouTube community tab and vote there. We'd love it, and tune in tomorrow, okay? To see who won. All right, now we're going to our members. Dragonfire Mathematician X, that is a long name, says, Brett Ehrlich riding shotgun with Cenk today, only during the holidays. Merry New Year, guys.
Yeah, you can tell a lot of people are either sick or out of the office.
So what you guys don't know, here I'll do a random plug for Brett. He is so valuable in the other things that he does. That's why you don't see him as often on air. I'd love to have him. I love these holiday shows.
I enjoy it too, man. It's weird to be in the studio. Last time I came in for a bonus episode, I'm like, this doesn't feel like real life. I don't know what's happening, but it does feel good to be back like around human beings.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, brother. But you have no idea the stuff he does behind the scenes. That's amazing, okay? Let's go, Brett.
There you go, let's go, Brett.
Wait a minute, is that a bad thing or a good thing now? All right, anyway, Colorado Blue Blazer regular says, isn't it funny how these maggots tell the president to go F himself, yet melt like snowflakes when others thought that their Lord and Savior, Trump, was crass? Yes, 100% inarguable. John Bogino says, if there was a Let's Go Brandon equivalent to Trump, he would have found out about it immediately and tried to get the internet to shut down over it. There's gotta be a middle ground. Oh, I mean, he would have caught the hardest feelings ever, and it would have been like, how dare you? That happened to me actually at a congressional debate. I mean, right-wingers flipped out. Anyway, we'll be back. Back on TYT, Cenk and Brett with you guys. Fan favorite Brett Ehrlich, they're all over. Look at Twitch, what do they say here? Brett in the studio, woohoo! Rebel Mitch says.
Yeah.
You see that?
Wifey's loving it, having the place all to herself. The other day, last night, she just goes, stop asking me what I want to do. Just, I don't want to do anything. I want you to go to the other side of the house and leave me alone in peace for a minute, because I just talk the whole time.
Well, that's really funny, because apparently the chat is defending your wife after your quote, I haven't been around human beings. So that happened.
He's so truer than he purposed.
She's currently starting hashtag Let's Go Brett.
Okay. No defense.
Okay. All right. Well, except one, of course, he meant, and a lovely one, and a brilliant, great one. Okay. All right. That's my save. All right. Let's go.
All right. Let's take flight. Okay. Since the start of the pandemic, we've seen countless videos of confrontations on planes where there's an anti-masker, and usually you know who the anti-masker is and who's not. In this situation, there was a pro-masker with her mask off, punching grandpa in the face. We have the full explanation, but without further ado, I want to play for you the video that you might have seen, flying around out there. Take a look.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, put your mask on. Who invited you to come
I'm eating and I can
drink your ass up? Don't you dare talk to me like that.
God damn it.
Stand your ass up. Stand your ass up.
Sit down, Karen.
Do you want the police to meet you on the ground?
What about him?
Mask up. Now.
Mask up.
Put your mask up.
I'm eating and drinking. I'm eating and drinking.
Tell him
You
to
got
mask
your
up.
mask down, bitch.
Sir,
Did you call me bitch?
Yes, I did.
stop it again.
Now you're going to jail. That's assault. You're going to jail. As soon as we get in Atlanta, you're going to jail. Bitch. Karen. Now you spit on me. Now you double going to jail. Bitch.
Put your mask
Put
on.
yours on, bitch.
I will put my mask on. I will put my mask on when you put your mask on.
At least she was negotiating there at the end. She was trying to negotiate a peace. Cenk, first we have the full information about who she is and what went down, what inspired this this back and forth. But first, reactions to the video.
Yeah. So look, we're knee deep, or neck deep in the culture wars, right? So you don't have your mask on. That means you have a certain identity, and the other person has a different identity. So now we fight, right? And that's what happens all across America. And the media has gotten us to hate one another, right? And look, honestly, we're a part of that too, because we got to fight back against the other side. And a lot of Democrats, 99% of Democrats lay down and let the Republicans run all over them. So we got to fight back. But it does lead to nonsense like this. This is insane, okay? The person at fault here is not the one that seems to be ostensibly on our side, telling the guy to mask up. She is definitely wrong. So unlike other parts of the media, we are actually willing to tell you things that are true, even if it looks like the person is on our side. It doesn't matter, okay? You're not on our side, by the way, if you're telling someone to mask up and you don't have your mask on. Like, that's right there instantly, you're a jackass. That makes no sense, and I'm not gonna abide by complete irrationality, yelling at people at the top of your lungs and spitting on them to mask up while you're not masked and spitting on them. That's insane and totally intolerable. She should definitely be arrested. And by the way, I'll go further. I don't know why the guy didn't have his mask on, and I don't care. I might care if I had my mask on and we're in a different context, right? But people say, no, he shouldn't curse and shouldn't call her terrible things. Look, you got a crazy person in your grill. I don't give a damn if you say things that are quote unquote inappropriate. So right now, Brett, I'm waiting for more information, but I got it scored 100-0 against her.
I do want to point out that I did not expect Gramps to call her a Karen. I didn't expect the vernacular to make it there.
Yeah.
But it did, and I want to say, way to go, Grandpa, or I keep calling him Grandpa because we don't know his name. RTW is what he's referred to in all the reports. But this guy, it's just all I'm thinking as a result of this is I do not want to get in a plane in the next 3 years. because everybody seems to be so on edge. I feel horrible for the flight attendants. A lot of flight attendants are in really, really precarious positions for their own health, where they have to, I mean, I heard yesterday that there's like communications from headquarters at various airlines where they're saying like, if you've been exposed to someone with COVID, if you don't have any symptoms, like you gotta go work. You don't get time off to go get a test. There is no help that you're getting. And meanwhile, like the CEO of Delta is telling the CDC, you guys need to cut down how much time people have off. I feel horrible for everyone who has to work the flight. As everybody's like, I feel your instinct is when something like this goes down, you're like, I hate that this is someone's workplace and they have to endure this. But let's get to the details of what happened according to the report. The woman was arrested. The man, per the complaint, told authorities that Cornwall, the woman, made a Rosa Parks remark to a flight attendant while returning to the bathroom. Okay, we'll get to what that remark was in a second. The flight attendant asked Cornwall to find an open seat until beverage service was completed, the complaint said. Now, Cornwall responded to the flight attendant, quote, "What am I, Rosa Parks?" The man believed Cornwall's comment was inappropriate, and he responded to Cornwall that she, quote, "isn't black, this isn't Alabama, and this isn't a bus." I don't know what airline it was on because it might have been an Airbus. But when the flight landed, Cornwall was arrested and charged for the assault. Here's part of the Atlanta Police Department statement. The disturbance led to the injury of fellow passengers and Delta employees. Based on the statements gathered and visible evidence, officers detained Ms. Cornwall and contacted the on-call FBI agent. FBI agents responded and took custody of Ms. Cornwall. So she said something like, about being discriminated against because she's Rosa Parks, because she was told to go to the back of the plane, essentially. Cenk, whose side you on now?
Now I'm in favor of her being double arrested. You're Rosa Parks? No, you are no Rosa Parks. I mean, you saw the video when we showed it again. I mean, she's got her hand cocked like this, ready to punch a guy who is appears to be considerably older than her, right?
She spits on him.
And she spits on him and she slaps him. I mean, there is no ands, ifs, or buts. This is not even close. And honestly, I guess, like the way the culture wars break out, obviously we have no idea of their personal politics. And my guess is that it probably gets confusing, like which side they're on and which issues, etc. And I can't perfectly tell, but ostensibly she's on the you should wear mask side, and he's presumably on the you shouldn't wear mask side. And so that's why I say, presumably we would be on her side of the divide in the culture wars, but not if you're not actually on our side and you don't wear the mask and you assault people, which immediately means you're not an actual progressive. You can't conduct a battle of ideas and you get into something physical that's insane. So there's just a ton of reasons why this is so out of bounds.
He said he was drinking and eating or something. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But it is just, it is insane. Because the one fact of the culture wars, no matter what side someone's on, is just the overall climate of discourse in America has so many people convinced of one thing, and it's that they're right, half the people are wrong, but all the sane people believe what they believe themselves. And so they look around and they're kind of taking stock of who they think is sane. They're making wild assumptions of everyone, and then they're basically concluding that I could spit on this man and not get in trouble for it in a plane. That's her thing. She wants him to face consequences. Meanwhile, she's swinging her hands and spitting on an elderly guy who we all know the elderly were essentially like, the most vulnerable to dying from this thing.
Yeah, so Karen is usually used against right-wingers who want to call the manager on a black guy, but it's not always racial. And it's not always on a black guy, and they're apparently not always right-wingers. Because I don't know, again, what her politics is, but if she's pro-mask, maybe she's a left-wing Karen. But she's definitely a Karen in that she feels entitled. I feel entitled to get you to do what I want, okay? And I feel entitled to punch you in the face and spit on you and have no consequences because I matter and you don't. Now, as progressives, we hate it when the right wing does that to us. We certainly should not do it back to them. Everyone obviously matters. I hope we can at least still agree to that, but I'm not positive. And yeah, this is just, and we show this to you because unfortunately, it is an extreme case, but it is emblematic as well. Violence on the flights have gone up tremendously, 5,779 unruly passenger incidents already this year, way up from last year. 72% of the incidents are over mass. So we are fighting this culture war very literally, and we're fighting it in the skies as well, which is kind of a dangerous place to fight in. So yes, we need to engage the battle of ideas if we're on the left. We can't shirk away from an ideological fight, but making it physical is insane for everyone involved.
Yeah, and this is like Delta's position on it. You read the stats. They are undeniable that there's been an uptick in these incidents. Graphic 5, this is Delta Airlines statement. Situations like these are rare for the vast majority of our customers, and Delta has zero tolerance for unruly behavior at our airports and aboard our aircraft. Vast majority of the customers, yes, but it's becoming more and more common when you fly these so-called friendly skies, where, let's face it, everybody would be miserable in a plane if it weren't a pandemic on. Everyone always self-medicates with alcohol, and alcohol, if you are the least bit frustrated, a lot of people, they act out in that situation, and it's really rough.
Okay, super last thing. The lines are all getting blurred, guys, because there are absurd rules. So when you have to wear the mask going into a restaurant, and then you could take it off immediately 1 foot later. Yeah. It makes no sense. Let's just acknowledge that. And if somebody's frustrated with that rule, that doesn't mean they're a right winger or a Trump supporter. You don't know exactly where people stand. Stop making assumptions as well. I know it's near impossible, but at some point we have to be decent again to one another.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Ben Shapiro versus Ilhan Omar. Ben Shapiro's really grown as a person. He used to just attack Ilhan Omar for being Muslim and comparing her to the terrorists who shot up the synagogue in San Diego, but he's really evolved as a person. He's still attacking her, but this time he's attacking her for what she said to Joe Manchin on his hypocrisy over Build Back Better. Now, his accusations against Omar are still made up, but as you'll see how it plays out, he thinks this guy from Beverly Hills, California, who is well funded by giant corporations, he knows what the people of West Virginia want. Here is Ben Shapiro talking trash on Ilhan, playing a clip of her, and then finishing his point. Take a look.
For a $7 trillion package, because AOC and Ilhan Omar wanted it, these people are out of their minds. They truly do seem to think that like small boroughs in New York govern the entire country, and that senators are not answerable to their home states. And Ilhan Omar joined the crew. She slammed Manchin as well. Here is the horrible congresswoman from Minnesota.
The excuses that he just made, I think, are a complete bullshit. It is really disheartening to hear him say that he has been trying to get there for the people of West Virginia, because that's a complete lie.
Well, I mean, if the people of West Virginia don't love Ilhan Omar, I mean, wow. I mean, when she speaks, the people of West Virginia listen. That is definitely a state, West Virginia, where Ilhan Omar, I'm sure, is wildly popular. Her perspectives are super popular in West Virginia. Again, the delusional nature of progressives who think they have a national program, as opposed to the reality of politics, which is you're always cobbling together a coalition to do incremental things. That is most of politics. And that it turns out Joe Biden did not have a mandate for anything remotely like this. It's amazing. And they will continue deluding themselves along these lines, the progressives, which means that Joe Biden should get with the program, right? If he had any brains at all, if he didn't have mush for brains at this point, which, I mean, physically mush for brains, then he would probably be pushing for a piecemeal approach to a lot of this legislation. But I don't know if he can do it.
There's Emma at the end because we saw this on Majority Report, hat tip to them. But definitely, okay, so there's a couple things. One, he's saying that West Virginians do not support the Build Back Better plan. Two, he's saying that progressives are wildly out of touch with America and have something that only works in the boroughs of New York and ostensibly Minnesota. And then there's some other stuff that he gets to. Third, he thinks it should be a piecemeal approach to fixing these. So Cenk, those 3 points, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so look guys, we've told you 100 times that the people of West Virginia actually want Build Back Better. And I'm gonna give you stats about that in a second. And we're gonna actually prove our case with facts, not feelings. But what Ben Shapiro is doing there, let's not bury the lead, is really kind of an interesting admission on his part, because he didn't say that the people of West Virginia, according to the polling, would be against Ilhan Omar's position. He just said the people of West Virginia are not going to agree with Ilhan Omar. Why? Why wouldn't they agree with Ilhan Omar? For example, she's for higher wages. We know through the polling that the people of West Virginia, unsurprisingly, are for higher wages, including a higher minimum wage. And that's a policy issue where they would definitely agree with Ilhan Omar. But that's not what Ben's saying. He's saying they would never agree with her. Why? You know it. Because she's Muslim, she's black, she's a woman, she wears a headdress, right? All of those things. So Ben Shapiro is implicitly saying there, without any question, he thinks the people of West Virginia are racist and bigoted. So just looking at Ilhan Omar, they would say, I don't agree with her because I don't like blacks, Muslims, women, etc. right? Now, I didn't say that. You saw the video. You saw Ben very clearly implying that. And he's probably projecting. I don't know if that's true. By the way, I'm open to the idea that that might be true. That unfortunately there might be enough racism and bigotry in West Virginia where they wouldn't even hear her out. They just go, Muslim woman, no way. I don't know. Ben seems to know, he thinks he knows, right? And at a bare minimum, he is definitely projecting his own views onto the voters of West Virginia. She's a black Muslim woman. I would never listen to her on anything. It doesn't matter if she has my best interests in mind.
And also, like, Ben Shapiro is a Los Angeles elitist. He couldn't be more. Isn't he like this rich kid from Beverly Hills, California?
Yes.
Yes.
But no, he moved out of California to save taxes.
Where did he move to? Did he move to Nash Vegas or whatever?
Yeah.
Go to Nashville and tell me that Nashville is super hip now.
It doesn't matter, but you're right. I mean, it's funny because the Jimmy Dores of the world would say about it, people like Emma, oh, she grew up in a cul-de-sac. It just means dead end. It doesn't mean anything, cul-de-sac. And so they're like, the right wingers will love to say, oh yeah, they're rich and elitist. And the fake left wing joins in on that. And what happened? Max Blumenthal's dad is the most centrist corporate Democrat in the history of America, Sidney Blumenthal, right? And Ben Shapiro is an elitist who grew up in Beverly Hills with a silver spoon up his ass.
And Jimmy's a cop. Jimmy's a cop. Jimmy Dore's a cop. Like every time I sat next to him on this panel, it was like, my whole family's cops. I grew up as cops. Everything's a cop.
He grew up in a cop cul-de-sac.
It's so frustrating. It's such a non-starter argument. The argument's a cul-de-sac. It's a dead end.
Anyway, so that's Shapiro's. Look, I don't care about his background. I care about his ideas. It's just the irony of him with his faux populism. Okay, you know who's a real populist? Someone who can't say faux populist. Anyways, back to the main argument. So are the people of West Virginia with Ben Shapiro, or are they with Ilhan Omar? Well, let's find out. Let's go to graphic 1 here. This is Data for Progress. They did a poll of West Virginians. Well, that makes sense. This support for Build Back Better, its key provisions and its pay-fors isn't limited, they explain, to solidly blue states. And West Virginia specifically, all provisions of the bill, including clean energy investments, are supported by at least 60% of voters. This includes investments in long-term care. That's a plus 78. That's not 78 approval, that's a plus 78. I've never seen anything like that. Net support, expanding Medicare coverage, plus 70%, childcare investments, plus 53%, paid leave, plus 46%, universal pre-K, plus 42%, and clean energy investments, a stunning plus 28% in the state of West Virginia. So the voters of West Virginia most definitely agree with Ilhan Omar. Get that through your thick skulls, you racist pricks, pretending you speak for the voters of West Virginia.
Yeah, and it's not just West Virginia, by the way, polling from Data for Progress. And there's a bunch of polls that essentially mimic this exact finding. The overwhelming voter support in key states for Build Back Better, including Georgia, 53% net support, North Carolina plus 50, Pennsylvania plus 46, Michigan plus 46, West Virginia plus 43, Wisconsin 39, Arizona 37%. So it has more support in a lot of these are swing states, but it is an insanely high amount of support. Why? Something that Republicans do all the time. They go and they test messages. and they find polling data that supports a certain kind of message, and they repeat that message non-freaking stop. I thought that in West Virginia, all the arguments for the coal, for the clean energy subsidies were the hardest to make because you had to convince entire sectors of the energy industry to change their tune. But no, as you reported last week, the coal union is like, no, we probably want to shore up our union's power into the future. So please, please invest in different kinds of energy because we're already in the union and maybe we can switch over to a different section of it as different energy jobs, this time clean energy jobs happen. So every step of the way, Ben Shapiro is utterly freaking wrong. And this is their hegemon of argument and debate on the left. And it doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah, their idea of intellectual is, Muslim, there's no way we agree with her. That's intellectual, hilarious. Seems like you're very deep in your feelings. Last couple of things here, guys. We have a correction, apparently. Ben Shapiro has moved to Boca, a populist hotbed.
There it is.
Boca in Florida, are you kidding me? Anyway, I don't know and I don't care where he lives, but that's what we hear. Okay, so the last things are, look, he says Biden has no mandate. No, and Emma and they talked about this on Majority Report. He arguably had too big a mandate. He didn't want that big a mandate because he's not a progressive at all. So he wins by 7 million votes. He's got the entire Democratic Party behind him, and he promised all these things he doesn't actually want to do, like $15 minimum wage, negotiating drug prices, etc. And he's like, God damn it, what do I do with this mandate? I have to somehow destroy it. Hey, Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, can you help me trash my own mandate? And let's all pretend the Republicans are right, and let's trash our own theoretical agenda, which is actually a progressive agenda we don't believe in at all, and our donors told us that we are not allowed to do. So what did he do? He cut, and Joe Manchin helped him cut the $3.5 trillion bill into a $1.75 trillion bill, now a $0 bill because it doesn't exist. But he, at 1.75, lost nearly half its popularity because all Republican, Independent, and Democratic voters all wanted it to be higher, not lower. They wanted more for the average American worker, not less. And when you took out things like lowering drug prices, well, then they're like, well, what the hell? You just screwed me. You said you were gonna do lower drug prices, and now you're rubbing it in my face that you're not. Now I don't like it as much, okay? And so that is, and hence, and Ben Shapiro here sounds just like the mainstream media. All this rebel, right-wing, intellectual, dark, no, that's a corporate media talking point 101. Let's shred this thing until people are super pissed. Let's give them the crumbs and then kick them while they're down. Okay, so why don't you just go work at ABC or CNN? That's exactly Jake Tapper 101. You're not a rebel, you're not some sort of right-wing populist. You're a very standard, cheesy propagandist for corporate rule. The only thing he said that I agree with is, he's like, oh, they should do it piecemeal. Deal. Put up negotiating drug prices and have everybody vote on it. I want to see every Republican vote against it. They're all against it, every single Republican. It polls at about 90% in the country. Almost all Republican voters want it. Go ahead, Ben Shapiro, put it up in West Virginia.
Put it up in Florida where you live.
Yeah, go ahead, put it up in Boca. See how it does, okay? Should Medicare be allowed to negotiate drug prices? I already know the answer, it's 88% say yes, okay? Go ahead, let's vote on it. Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, I want to see you vote against it. And I want to see every single Republican scum, corrupt politician vote for higher drug prices because they get paid by the drug companies. Go ahead, I dare you. He won't do any of that. He'll hide behind the culture wars and racism and bigotry because that's all he's got.
All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we've got some scandal trying to find a replacement for Meghan McCain on The View. And then is Madison Cawthorn the victim of a honeypot scheme? Don't go away. We'll be back after this. We're reading your comments.
All right, back to the social break here. A bunch of comments. Let's go to Twitch first. Metal Turtle gifted a sub, and so did Axiomom. RoboBlake gifted 5 subs. Amazing. Julian wrote in, thank you, Brett, as well for all that you do to keep TYT afloat. We love you, buddy.
Oh,
okay.
Thanks.
Oh, much love right back at you, Julian.
I love you too, Julian.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, lots of love today in the show. Are we not merciful? Niece 2010 says, enjoy watching you all. It's been a whole year. Can you believe it? I could barely believe it. It's been 20 years for us. Just My Tea says, thank you for fighting a good fight. Right back at you. We couldn't do it without you if you're not a member. So thank you for signing up. Taylor says on Super Chat, is there any chance that Garland has been quietly building a conspiracy case against 45 and company for the insurrection, or are we doomed? Taylor, there is approximately a 0% chance of that. You know what? I'll put the over/under at 0.5%. Okay, if you go 1% on the over, okay, I can understand that bet. But if you think it's more than 5%, you're deluding yourself. No, Merrick Garland is incredibly weak. Joe Biden is incredibly weak. The idea that they would pursue a strong case, a conspiracy case against the former president, there's almost no chance of that. Zoink from Space 333 says, I live in Alabama. My coworker thinks there's a secret police force that will take you away if you say F Biden. Well, how come everybody's saying it all over television and nobody's being taken away, right? But there is no end to their conspiracy theories. I always remember there's a million of them, but the FEMA camps. Obama was setting up FEMA camps. Alex Jones told us entire right-wing conspiracy, and every website told us, and they were all going to be put in FEMA camps by the end of Obama's term. There were no FEMA camps. Nobody got put into a single FEMA camp until, of course, Trump started camps. But that's a whole other thing. And unmoved by the fact that they are monstrously wrong on every single issue, they continue unabated. Okay, so it is what it is. You can't talk sense to them. Jonah Morton says, Brett, you are wrong. And he put it in all caps, so it must be true. It's not I'm right and you're wrong. Learn from Trump. If you disagree with even one thing in the movement, you're an infidel. Okay, and that is generally how the right wing certainly operates. Katie said, got exposed today at work. Had to just work through my shift, putting my waxing clients at risk. We don't have any leadership, so we don't know what to do. Service workers are always at risk. Yeah. So that's such an interesting comment. I know it's kind of out of blue, but it had just happened to her, right? And yeah, it's true, because there's no one to protect you. And that's part of what we're doing on the show here. Somebody needs to look out for you guys. And unfortunately, it hasn't been our government. Melody Moonfire says, Jank, as a sexual abuse survivor, I grew up without knowing what a father's love was. You're the kind of man I would want a father to be. Love you. Wow. I'm blown away by that, Melody. Thank you. It's an incredibly nice thing for you to say. And I'm sorry that you went through what you went through. And it's all right. We're all here for you, okay? And there are good people in the world, including you. So Chaplain Fred then wrote in, hi, Jank Brett, glad you're back on. Thank you for all you do at TYT. Sad but true to do damage control a few hours ago regarding the 14-year-old who was killed by LAPD. I'm so heartbroken. Fred, we're gonna get to that actually a little bit later in the program. And thank you for being there for the families and talking people through it. We'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Brett with you guys, and also Null Unit, because they just joined. Hit the join button below on YouTube. You become a young Turk, and you're part of us. You help spread the news, actual facts and truth, and try to fight for progressive change. One funny comment from a member, Occam's Taser said, no one talks about Rosa Parks' lesser known boxing career. Good point. I think that's probably what the person on the flight was thinking when she compared herself to Rosa Parks. Okay,
all
Brett.
right. Okay, there's no one quite like Meghan McCain, at least reportedly. That's what the executives at ABC are experiencing when they're trying to replace her. Now, this is where things are at. It's a hilarious story that reveals just how messed up Republicans are in general when you can't find one that is just the right Goldilocks zone for insanity. Okay, so before taking off the holidays, the 4 longstanding View hosts, according to Politico, had a message for executive producer Brian Tata. We're tired of the rotating cast of Republican guest hosts. Since she left, and that was 6 months ago, I think, these are the people that they have tried. So you'll see S.E. Cupp, Alyssa Farah, who's an ex-White House comms director, Morgan Ortagus, who is an ex-State Department spokesperson, Condoleezza Rice, Carly Fiorina, who should have been the vice president right alongside Ted Cruz, and then Gretchen Carlson. They're also going to try Barry Weiss and Lisa Ling coming up, but those don't fit the conservative angles that they're looking for. But here is what is being said behind the scenes, according to Politico. Sources close to the show said that the search has stalled as executives struggle to find conservative cast member who checks all the right boxes. They will not consider a Republican who is a denier of the 2020 election, embrace the January 6 riots, or is seen as flirting too heavily with fringe conspiracy theorists or the MAGA wing of the GOP. But at the same time, the host must have credibility with mainstream Republicans, many of whom still support Donald Trump. Two last quick quotes. So the problem is that they bring people on under the mantle that this woman is a conservative when they're never Trump, so they don't represent the country, said one of the rotating guests, one of the people ostensibly that we just showed the picture of. And then finally, a former staffer told Politico, they're really looking for a unicorn. They want someone who's gonna fight, but not too hard, because they don't want it to be ugly and bickering. Sure they don't.
Well, so that last point though is exactly right. They're looking for something that's impossible and actually, more importantly, pointless. So you're looking for a Republican that doesn't represent any actual Republicans. Let's keep it real, let's be honest, right? 93% of Republicans voted for Trump after knowing the disaster of COVID and how he dealt with it, and how we thought we should inject bleach, how we thought we should ban Muslims, how we thought the people of Puerto Rico had the hurricane coming because they were lazy. I mean, we can go on and on, a million insane things that he did, and including racist, bigoted things. I mean, he drew a new path with a hurricane with a Sharpie because he thought it helped him politically, and put it up as if it was a real map. The guy's a freaking lunatic. And 93% of Republicans said, attaboy. And then these Democrats, they're total liars. They say, oh no, it's okay. We got the 7% of Republicans, that's why we won. That's actually completely misleading. I just saw a poll, a really interesting study that showed that during the Trump years, more Democrats flipped into being Republicans than Republicans flipped into being Democrats. So those mythical Republican suburb voters that Pelosi and Biden are constantly talking about, it's always been a fantasy. It's always been an excuse to do what their corporate donors want. There are no unicorns of Republicans who are perfectly reasonable and just greedy. They just want tax cuts, right? That's all they want, and they're God-fearing, good, moral people, and they are just aghast at what Trump has done. And of course, they don't think the election is stolen. That is not a thing. It doesn't exist. If it does, it only exists in elite circles where you're all obsessed with your tax cuts and nothing else at all. But real Republicans believe crazy stuff. So either you're gonna have someone who says that, or you're not gonna have a Republican, period.
Yeah, they had some people on there for a while who were like libertarian-ish, and obviously, what was the woman's name who went to Fox and Friends and teased out her hair a bunch? No, there was another one, and anyways, there was someone who was in the middle and then went to Fox and Friends and instantly went, Jedediah Bila, who instantly went crazy off the deep end. She was like the I'm a lawyer voice of reason on kind of like the left right, but the truth is they shoot the show in New York. All the applause lines go to the like liberal, like neoliberal talking points. And so another thing that's happening behind the scenes is they went out to someone who, Kat Timpf, reportedly, this is all rumor and delightful speculation, but Kat Timpf, who's on the Gutfeld show, and she said no because, and this is just an amazing little fact, they think that Whoopi and Joy are too mean and they bully the conservative on the panel, which is just so good because you want someone who they're trying to go out to like these real conservatives, but the conservatives are such snowflakes, they can't handle Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar.
100%. No, guys, seriously, it's like the only people that actually run this country are the donors and the advertisers, okay? Everyone else that is vaunted powerful elites are actually incredibly weak. Democratic leadership is really the weakest people I've ever seen in my entire life. But Republicans are also incredible snowflakes. Whoopi criticized me, I'm melting. Who cares? Whoopi criticizes us all the time. I love it. I think it's hilarious. I remember when she's like, how dare they call themselves the Justice Democrats? I came up with the name Justice Democrats. I love that she attacked that. She's like, what, you guys stand for justice? Goddamn right we do, Whoopi. How hard was that? Right wingers, you're so goddamn tough, you can't stand up to Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar? Just disagree, so what? And stop crying. Meghan, all she ever did was like, she'll say outrageous things. The minute somebody says, hey, that doesn't quite make sense, she's like, I am a victim. God, the right wing is so weak. It's filled to the rim with betas. And it doesn't matter if they're women or men, they're all pathetically weak. Oh, Trump came along. Oh, take my banana, alpha monkey. Please take my banana, I'm begging you. You know, you guys look so tough. Guys, look, here's what the View should do. And I actually don't want to give him this advice. I thought about emailing Joy because we worked together at Current TV. Me, Brett, and Joy did, right? And then I thought, I don't want them taking a good progressive. But if they were smart, they would actually get a good, strong progressive who would also disagree with them all the time because they're neolibs, right? And they're like, yay, capitalism and the status quo is wonderful. No one in this country loves the status quo more than Whoopi Goldberg, okay? So if you get a progressive in there, you'll get fireworks. They won't melt like a snowflake. And by the way, they'll actually represent a larger percentage of Americans than a right-winger would. And certainly a right-winger that disagrees with Trump. That represents about 1.5% of the country, right? But they'll never go in that direction because to them, a progressive disagreeing, well, how dare they? They're not, they're supposed to be under our heel. They're not, no, they don't get a voice. We want a right winger who wants goddamn tax cuts. That's who's gonna get the voice.
Yeah, and they're correct on everything. That's the other thing, is like I've been here for a very long time. I am correct. No one can criticize my position, especially from the left. Like they can't handle that. And I just wanna say, like, the magic of Meghan McCain was all the hypocrisy and like inconsistent position she took that she was completely oblivious to. Plus they accepted her having all those positions because she was royalty, because she was John McCain's kid. So they tried Abby Huntsman, Abby's like peace. And Jenna Hager-Bush is over at NBC. So you're gonna go with the other Bush twin? I don't think she's into that whole thing. They're running out of like royalty that's okay if they're baddie. Anyways, I do wanna get to this honeypot Madison Cawthorn story. We don't have a lot of time, but I do wanna get to it. All right. Here's a hilarious story that I am enjoying a whole bunch, but don't care that much about, but it is absolutely fascinating what it tells about all people in all parts of media. So Madison Cawthorn and his wife are getting a divorce, which is on its face hilarious that a religious person gets divorced. I love it every second of the day after they tell us how we're not religious enough and then they get divorced. But recently a video surfaced that kind of implied that maybe Madison Cawthorn meeting his wife through this weird interaction on jumping the border from Scandinavia into Russia. Also some kind of fake like CrossFit competition resulted in him meeting his wife and getting married. Maybe it was a honeypot situation, which is like spycraft 101. Anyways, here's the video that surfaced. Take a look and we'll discuss.
So me and a bunch of my friends, we went to we got to go over to very close to Russia. Went to Sweden and Norway. Then we got on a boat and went into St. Petersburg in Russia. And we just decided to take $100 each and go into a casino and see how it went. And I ended up meeting an American there who was a captain in the Army and who was originally from Miami. And so we hit it off. Later, I was down in Miami for work, and he texted me and said, "Hey, would you like to come compete in a CrossFit competition?" And so I laughed and said, well, Todd, I'm in a wheelchair. I obviously can't do CrossFit. And he said, well, just do the pull-up section. I was like, okay, sounds good. And so I show up. But anyways, it all was a sham. It was a fake CrossFit competition. He just wanted me to put me in the same room with the girl who is eventually going to become my fiance. And so we did. And her and I hit it off. And it's been a magical relationship ever since.
So the story seems to check out in one way or another. Todd Thompson, who is ostensibly the guy that he was referencing in that story, did comment on one of Christina, the soon-to-be ex-wife's photos in 2019. Here's the photo on Instagram of them having a great time together. And then if you go through the comments, you see this. Who can take credit for introducing these two? Theoretically, Todd Thomason. So there you go, you have that. There's a lot more to this, but just how hilarious it is that it seemed like if you were, this is my take on it. If you're gonna get mad at Eric Swalwell for being the victim and just harp on it because some Chinese plant talked to him, and you're not gonna talk about how sus it is that Madison Cawthorn went to a fake competition to meet this woman that he met in Russia through a guy he met in Russia. Like, I think it's hilarious that as soon as someone says anything like this, it's gonna turn completely into like, you guys are Russia, 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 and everything. Viewers were quick to comment on Cawthorn's comments, like, this seriously is word for word what Vladimir Putin would say if he was on American TV, wouldn't change a comma. He has to be reading off a teleprompter. That was from RT. That is in response to this video, which we're gonna play you right now. Take a listen.
We're hearing a bipartisan call for the idea that we could put troops on the ground, or that our fleets inside of the Black Sea could rain down destruction on the Russians. This is asinine at best. When these people believe that they're fighting in the late 1900s against the USSR, who is completely prostrate and not capable of being able to defend themselves, we would be fighting right against their doorstep and their seat of power. We've been fighting in a sandbox and in caves for the last 20 years. Meanwhile, they've been creating hypersonic missiles which could sink our entire fleet in the Black Sea.
So there you go. This is basically, I don't know, and I don't really care if he was honeypotted or not, but it is so hilarious to see Madison Cawthorn, Mr. America all day, I'm super religious, and women are earthen vessels for the Lord to impregnate and bear his seed. Like, then turning around and getting divorced and like meeting his wife in a super weird way in Russia.
Yeah, well, so first on the substance of the clip, for I know that it's tangential to the story, but maybe it isn't. That's the whole point of the honeypot conspiracy theory, right? Which is that he marries this woman that he found through this, what appears to be a Russian asset, right? But I don't know at all. We'll come back to that in a second, right? And then all of a sudden, he's against military intervention in Ukraine. Now, it's one thing to say, hey, I don't think we should do military intervention. I don't think we should do military intervention, right? It's another thing to say the Russians are too strong. You got to make a coffee brand out of them. They're just too strong. Like, oh, they would sink us in the Black Sea right away. They would kill us. They're way better than us. I prostrate myself at the feet of Vladimir Putin. You didn't need to say all that, right? Yeah. It was kind of weird. And so, guys, is it weird that he got invited to a casino in St. Petersburg? By the way, there's no gambling in St. Petersburg. So he had to get invited to like something that the government sanctions, while, for the powerful and the elite, because you can't just walk into a casino in St. Petersburg. It doesn't exist, right? So he gets sent to a private casino that the government allows, meets a mysterious American from Miami who used to be in the military. He then gets invited, that guy then invites him to a fake competition where he introduces him to this woman, right? And then they get married, and then all of a sudden, Cawthorn is saying how awesome Russia is and how mighty Russia is and how we couldn't possibly mess with Russia because we're impotent America. Okay, but I swear to God, I have no idea if the Todd dude, his name is really Todd, if he's an agent, not an agent, an asset, and if there was a real marriage, not, I have no idea. But I do know this, we're not talking about Swalwell anymore. So we covered that story. The Chinese, okay, the Chinese government's funny, okay? They send somewhat attractive women and American men melt instantly. They did the right wingers, they did the left wingers, but Swalwell never gave away anything. Swalwell never said we should bow down to China. But Cawthorn's much, much weaker. So he immediately, he's like, oh, I went to St. Petersburg, got hooked up with a bride. I love Russia, motherland, Russia. Like, come on, that was easy.
And like, yeah, it's just so stupid that he just walks right into it. And the reason that, and again, like, I don't care. It is hilarious. It is not important to my life or anyone's life whatsoever. I'm not gonna go too far down the rabbit hole of conspiracy and whether or not this was an actual honeypot. Sounds like one. It sounds like an episode of Archer where the guy is too stupid to realize he's getting honeypotted. And then also, it reminds me of how tenuous a connection needs to be to anything, for it to become a central premise of right-wing insanity. And they have to go and draw, they have to pull at strings and figure out and put these two things together that have nothing to do with each other. And suddenly there is a basement pizza sex ring of drinking baby's blood. They have to piece together from which letter in what word was accidentally capitalized. That's how they get to their conspiracy theories. And here's Madison Cawthorn out there being like, yeah, definitely. I was supposed to be in Sweden. Some guy brought me into Russia and I met a woman. It's just so like,
and they turn around and they're like, but that one's not real.
Yeah, Trump, here's a photo of, so Hillary Clinton's drinking blood. And meanwhile, here's a photo of Trump and Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell together holding a baby and like nothing.
Okay, to be fair, there are multiple pictures of Trump with Maxwell and Epstein, but none holding him. Yeah, just to be clear. Okay, but they're like, yeah, you take the ivermectin, and then you take the body antibodies, and you take this, and then you do a little zinc, and then you rub it all over your face. The vaccine, no, that doesn't make any sense.
So stupid. All right, that's okay. That's all the time we have. Sorry, I went over. I did not even pay attention.
All right, we gotta go. But when we come, oh, by the way, oh no. Poll for you guys. Madison Cawthorn, yes, you got honeypotted. No, nothing fishy here. We don't really care, but we're amused. So we did a poll anyway, tyt.com/polls. Have fun with it. You tell us what you think. Don't worry, nobody's holding you to it, and we're not going to publish it like it's, yes, well, the people have voted that it was a honeypot, so it was. Okay, we're not Fox News. All right, we'll be right back. Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover, so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories. Gee, I wonder why we didn't get $15 minimum wage. Because they're all raising money from the guys who don't want to increase the minimum wage.
And we play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcasting cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. The Republicans say we will serve our corporate masters at all costs, including killing democracy, yet here we are. Where else do you hear that? You hear that on NBC, on ABC, on CBS? You hear it nowhere.
They don't want to talk about money in politics because it's really hard to pass judgment when your media organization is funded by fossil fuel companies.
The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma. And we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed.
The president labeled him a son of a bitch.
I don't think it's good to be a distraction to your team.
To stand proudly for the national anthem.
You know, some of these people need to move to another country.
Well, you shouldn't be playing, you shouldn't be there. Maybe you shouldn't be in the country.
The president is put in place to amplify the racists in this country.
Black men and boys are killed at an exponentially higher rate than white men and boys, as outlined by PBS. Black people are most likely to be killed by police, found mappingpoliceviolence.org. Personally, my biggest gripe is not seeing how sports and politics have been attached at the hip. From the jockey syndrome, to the Negro Leagues, to Tommy Smith and John Carlos, Muhammad Ali, to modern day and everything in between. This is not an escape. It is a reflection of reality and a reflection of the times.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change. Back on TYT, Cenk and Jared Jackson, everybody. Okay.
That's right. Hey, almost forgot my Lakers hat, you guys.
No, wait.
There
LeBron said something wrong. You can't have that on.
That's what I was maybe gonna break it out then, but let's do it now.
All right. Okay. Well, JR's canceled. I'm doing the rest of the show. All right. Okay. We'll get to LeBron's story in a second. We'll see if we're against him or not. But also, Brother Monk is joining us. Who is that? That's a person who just signed up on YouTube. Once you sign up, you are the Young Turks. Okay, so I love that you guys help us put the show together. Hit the join button below. By the way, tonight for the members is a perfect time to become a member. JR and I haven't asked me anything, so go put in questions in the YouTube community. All right, and then come ask us, become a member, and come ask us anything you like tonight, right after the show. Okay, so tyt.com/join, or if you're on YouTube, hit the join button below the video. All right.
First answer is Brother Monk is a very cool name. I like it.
Agreed.
Welcome, brother. Welcome.
Exactly.
Okay, ready to do it? Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Why not? LAPD officers responding to an assault call that was going on from multiple people at a Burlington coat factory in North Hollywood on Thursday. And as they approached and dealt with the suspect, they decided to shoot multiple times at him. Now, in those resulting shots, they also fired into a changing room where a 14-year-old girl was there with her mother, trying on clothes like any other normal human would do. So before we get to then, I'm sorry, and also on Monday, body cam evidence was also released from the LAPD to show exactly what happened from multiple angles, from multiple police officers. And that video is not gonna, I don't know, maybe some may believe it will, but in my opinion, it doesn't look like it's gonna shine a very positive light on the officer involved in that. But before we get to that part of it, first of all, this very graphic video of the assailant in the Burlington coat factory randomly attacking people. And I'll tell you guys as this is happening, because this is closed footage from the store. So let's go to that first. So as you can see, the man is attacking a woman from behind, hitting her with what you can't tell yet what it is. Takes her to the ground, she's struggling to get away. Many times he could have left. Now, as is this is the back end of him terrorizing people throughout the store. He had attacked other women, he specifically targeted women, groped a few, taunted at people, screamed, yelled. I feel like security was there and they were trying to not do much, but just trying to stay out of it. And people were beginning to leave the store. So at that point, police were called by an employee and as I said, other people that were watching. And what they did say was, I have a hostile customer in my store attacking customers, is what this particular employee said in the 911 call. He's walking around the store looking for people. And someone else also reported a report of a guy with a gun. So that's from the New York Times. They point out what was in that call. So upon those calls being made, multiple, I'd say 12 to 15 officers showed up. And again, another graphic video, this is then what happened.
Diamond formation, guys. You get all victims. LAPD, all victims come to us. All victims come out. We have a victim down. Victim down. Hey, slow down, slow down. Let me take point with the rifle. Hey, back up. Get out. Hold on. He's going to 2. You got it? You got it? Yeah. Okay. Word. He's hitting right on the right hand side. Hey, she's bleeding. She's bleeding. Hold up. I got it. Shots fired. Hey, take those hands. Turn around. Get on your stomach. Turn around. Hold up. Get your hand down. Get your hand down. Get that.
So also, if you couldn't tell from the back end of that, as they were converging on the suspect after he was shot, multiple officers were running back behind that wall, which is apparently where the dressing room was, where probably that teenager's mother was screaming as she just witnessed her daughter get shot randomly and out of nowhere. So onto these, some of the things that happened from The Guardian. So as police encountered a man suspected of assault inside of that store, as they're reporting, an officer fired 3 bullets at him from a distance. One of the officer's bullets struck the girl when it bounced off of the floor and into the dressing room where she was with her mother, is what police said on Monday. So the 14-year-old victim has been identified as Valentina Oriana Peralta, according to the LA County Medical Examiner's Office, which ruled the death to be a homicide from a gunshot wound to the chest, and this is that young lady there. So I think as everyone has been seeing as this story has been circulating, she was there shopping for I guess an outfit, a dress for her quinceañera that was upcoming. And the man who was assaulting everyone throughout the store was identified as 24-year-old Daniel Elena Lopez, who also died from those wounds. So there's a bit of a history with LAPD and recent history with them and their spikes in crimes and the amount of shootings they've been doing of innocent people. So before I open it up, let me just get to those as well. So this year, the LA Police Department officers have fatally shot 18 people. The Los Angeles Times reported this, more than twice the number who were shot and killed by the department last year. So Mayor Eric Garcetti, in a statement, pledged to respond to Ms. Oriana Peralta's death, quote, with the transparency, sensitivity, and accountability that Valentina's family deserves. Yeah. Where do you land on this one?
All right, so first off, no one begrudges the police being there. We were happy that the police were there in the first place. That guy's a lunatic, the one who, well, is dead at this point, the original assailant. You know bike locks, right? I mean, they got that heavy metal chain and he's wailing on the women, poor women at the shop. Right to call the cops, great that the cops arrived. You gotta go get that guy, you gotta stop him, no question. So I don't want people confused as to what the problem here is, right? But when you see him, even if there's no one on the other side, I think then we have real disagreement in the society, right? Even without knowing that there's an innocent bystander behind the guy, I think that a lot of people would say, oh, you should shoot him immediately, because that's the culture now in America. Well, he hit other people, or maybe he might have shot other people. There was a reported gun. Don't take any chances with the cops' lives. That guy's a bad guy anyway. Shoot him, kill him, who cares? Be done with it, right? And then there's other folks, which include me, that say, no, I remember when the cops used to say, stop, freeze, put your hands up, right? And that meant, yes, they were taking a small percentage chance with their own lives, because if the guy did have a gun, he would have an extra second, half a second, second and a half to lift the gun up, and maybe you don't see it, etc., right? But it would save a lot of lives, because you would find out the guy didn't have a gun. Now, in this case, for the guy who's dead, there's almost no sympathy because of, I mean, how monstrous his actions were, right? But so that's why it's actually a good case to say, even for a guy you have absolutely no sympathy for, you still shouldn't kill him. You should wait to see if he has a weapon, because that's what we're paying you for. Now, Of course, what we're really concerned about is the situations where they really, really shouldn't have shot, like Tamir Rice, who was a 12-year-old kid who had a toy gun. Crawford also in Ohio at a Walmart, who was buying a BB gun from Walmart. That's why he had it on him, because he was shopping, right? In those situations, and this one too, even in a bad case scenario like this, that's why you need to take a second or two, or maybe, God forbid, 3, to say freeze, put your hands up, and see if the guy has a gun. Now, the other reason to do it is because, of course, there are bystanders. You might not see them, but you're in a crowded shopping mall. Do not wantonly fire in a situation like that, because as it turns out, there's a 14-year-old girl you're not seeing behind that flimsy little wall. These aren't concrete walls, they're all sheetrock. And that's a very powerful weapon that he fired.
Just imagine if a good Samaritan came in and said, oh, I've got gun training, I'm gonna come in and start shooting. How many of you would feel comfortable with him in that store shooting because he told you he's good at it? Because we have this automatic trust that police officers, because they run in there all amped up, because there's a nervous energy. I watched, there's a long, very long version of that entire process that happened at that store, and there was a tense energy. It was both a little nervous and a little bit excited. They made their diamond formation, diamond, diamond, diamond. You saw that part. Diamond, diamond, this isn't Gladiator. But it's diamond, diamond. Then when they saw the trail of blood and potentially where the victim was, his latest victim was, diamond broke off and one lead officer took the lead because he had the biggest gun, it seemed, and they had to follow. So as this all happens, he shoots off of the floor and into the dressing room. So again, where is this very detailed technical training that we have to trust? Because all these guys running with these guns hanging out, why isn't that a nerve-wracking situation? Why is that comfortable? Because to keep it real, that's my first thought too, is, oh my God, the cops are there. He can stop beating on this woman, because she was really, like, she was his latest target, and it was brutal. So as we see this happen, why is this acceptable? Why is this the process? Now, I know there's lots of other things that they could have done, that we always say they could have done, and oh my God, JR, you weren't really there, so who are you to say? My name is not Officer Jackson, I don't wear a bulletproof vest, I don't carry that huge ass gun, and I don't run around, can't wait to shoot someone. Now, if I was in that position, I guess I'd have to follow some level of a process to make sure I don't kill other innocent people, or also maybe get the wrong guy, because that also happens too. There's so many bad situations that happen there, and it's the reason why I'm sitting here behind this desk talking about this, and I'm not wearing a bulletproof vest, a big gun, a sidearm, a billy club, and everything else. Because I don't want to be a cop, because I don't want to be in the situation where I'm wondering, is this guy gonna shoot me? Oh my God, I'm the lead cop now. If I don't shoot, he's gonna shoot me. And you make that same mistake over and over and over and over again. If you can't do it, come and do this. Sit down and talk about it, since you're so mad about crime. Everyone has this issue with crime. Hey, start a podcast since you have a problem with crime in the city everywhere and you want to do something about it. Maybe sit and talk, because you definitely don't have the mentality or the training to find yourself in a very tense situation, which is what this was. I'm not taking that from these cops. But once you're in that situation, you do this?
Yeah.
So I would have maybe done the same thing, because I'm afraid if somebody's running around. I'm like, oh my God, they said he had a gun. Oh my God, I got to do something. It's nervous.
Yeah, so look, to JR's point, every time people say, oh yeah, you're telling the cop to take a risk with his own life, it's easy for you to say. It's also easy for me to say that a fireman should run into a burning building. I wouldn't want to do it, that's why I'm not a fireman. They're brave, they're heroic, I appreciate it. But yeah, it's in the job description. That's why you're a hero, because you run into burning buildings. For a cop to say, I don't want to take any risks, I want to have the bulletproof vest, I want to have the high-powered weapon, and I don't want to pause for a second, I just want to shoot and kill and then sort it out later. Well, then you don't get to be called brave. And that's not what your job is supposed to be. Your job, by definition, is supposed to take some degree of risk to protect the rest of us, not be obsessed with just yourself. Last thing is, look guys, there's now 3 different things that we have to look out for. We got to look out for maniacs like the assailant in the first place, because they exist. That guy was real, right? And why are they running around? Because we don't have enough services, right? Because everybody's obsessed with tax cuts, and then they wonder, hey, how did these folks wind up in a situation like this? Because we didn't provide anything for them. Even in California, bunch of neoliberals who never provide services and things that are required so we don't have people like this running around. Number two, we're all scared of the nonstop mass shootings, right? So, and now we're also scared of the so-called Good Samaritan shootings, whether it's a cop or it's, as JR pointed out earlier, it's a rando. Oh, I'm gonna be a hero, and everybody wants to be a hero. And we're all having shootouts at the goddamn Ross Dress for Less, right? And so in this case, it's not Ross, it's another one, but this is nerve-wracking. We're driving ourselves crazy because of the obsession with not funding things properly if it actually helps average Americans, and the obsession with gun culture and violence in America. And we've terrorized ourselves, and this is just the latest example.
So that woman witnessed her daughter get shot in front of her. Her daughter's never gonna be here anymore. Next time she thinks about the word quinceañera, it's gonna be terrorizing her the rest of her life. And kudos to them letting out the video footage, because that's gonna be pretty damning for them. But it's the least they could do to show us their process and what they've been doing.
But yeah, I gotta say, they put out that footage. I don't think they thought it was damning. I saw reports on it. They seem to have put it out thinking, we nailed it. And I think that they think, well, the guy was beating the crap out of those women, so of course we had to kill him. And in order to kill him, of course we had to fire. Collateral damage. No, it is not. That video does not say what you think it says, LAPD. The rest of us look at that and go, no, don't shoot yet, don't shoot yet. God damn it, they shot. And now that girl is dead. Let alone the original guy, who, by the way, didn't have a gun.
Yeah, think about your son or daughter at 14 years old, and then figure if you'd be okay with it if that happened to you, because they needed to shoot right away to make sure they preserved whatever fears that they were worried was gonna happen to them. Would you be like, that's great? Would you come out the next day and be like, that's awesome, I like it? No, you wouldn't. The rest of your life, you'd be thinking about it, because that's your kid. Yeah.
All right, we gotta take a break, guys. When we come back, Candace Owens versus Donald Trump. The feud continues. You're gonna love this. All right, we'll be back. All right, back on TYT. First of all, I want to shout out to our wonderful progressive sponsor, Aspiration. So, like I've been telling you guys, you can get rates that are like literally 83 times more than the big banks. It's unbelievable. The big banks can offer you more money, they're not doing it. They take your money and then invest it. Some of the investments are perfectly fine, but some of them are terrible. They put it into big oil, private prisons, etc. Aspiration doesn't do that. You get peace of mind, you get the best rates, and you can plant trees every time you use your debit card. So go check out aspiration.com/TYT. Just take 5 minutes to start an account, and you'll feel better about yourself. Try it out, see if you like it. I did, and I loved it. All right. So now let me go to new members that just joined. Mr. Black and Tree Batiki just joined up. And it's a good moment to join up, guys. If you hit the join button below on YouTube or tyt.com/join, because JR and I are gonna do an Ask Me Anything tonight, which is, as the name suggests, allows you, if you're a member, to ask us anything. And we do answer them, and they are sometimes a little crazy.
Man, how'd I get wrapped up in this?
I know, exactly. All right, let me go to Twitch. DY Systemic wrote in, I'm a 49-year-old man on disability. 2 years ago through YouTube, I discovered TDR and the TYT family. You literally changed/saved my life. Wow. To know that I wasn't alone in the way I thought and the beliefs I hold was life-saving. Much love and mad respect to all. Thank you. We appreciate it, and we love that you're with us and part of the family now. Yes, you are definitely not alone. We're gonna fight together, we're gonna win together, guys. Progressive Positive said, the sad reality is that far too many of them, it's just a paycheck, referring to the police. It's not about keeping the peace or serving or protecting. Policing has become more about exercising power than about any other thing. It's sad and disgusting. I don't know how long it's been that way. It's possible that it's been that way from the very, very beginning. But certainly that's a giant issue today about exercising power and not caring about the citizens. Dragon Rose of Desire says, excuse me, you're gonna love this one. I like reading compliments about other hosts. JR appreciation post they write in. Not only is he good looking, but he's got a unique way of boiling down complicated topics in a way that's simple to understand. I look forward to seeing him on TDR because of this.
You could have stopped at the first sentence, bro. I mean, first phrase.
All right. God bless. God bless. What are we gonna do? Dragon Rose of Desire. There you go.
You're gonna learn better than to read these things to me.
No, you get a compliment. You struck, brother. Okay, you walking around the park. You know I would. Speaking of guys like me, fat guy named Tiny wrote in, we need to start a petition to ask Biden to rename the new dog Brandon. That would be really funny, okay? And it'd be a way of saying, I don't give a damn, but he's never gonna do it. I am out of time, even though you guys have such great comments. We'll do it in the next break. We'll be right back. Oh, we're back. Cenk and JR with you guys. It's a good thing you didn't come back 5 seconds earlier. All right, anyways, on that fun note, we go to Candace versus Trump.
Yes. Conservative anti-vaxxers are both hurt and confused by some of the comments that former President Donald Trump made last week. First with his event with Bill O'Reilly, and secondly, in an interview with Candace Owens, conservative pundit Candace Owens. So even though she was still giving him unnecessary praise during the interview, she still found a way afterwards, after his comments that are pro-vaccine for himself at least, she still found a way to try to finagle and tell her followers, well, it wasn't really what you thought. We'll get to that in a second, but first I want to remind you guys of what he did say to her that sent her head into a spinning top.
The vaccine is one of the greatest achievements of mankind. And I came up with a vaccine, with 3 vaccines. All are very, very good. Came up with 3 of them in less than 9 months. It was supposed to take 5 to 12 years.
And yet more people have died under COVID this year, by the way, under Joe Biden than under you. And more people took the vaccine this year. So people are questioning how.
Well, no, the vaccine worked, but some people aren't taking it. The ones that get very sick and go to the hospital are the ones that don't take the vaccine.
What? Said what? You guys all saw this last week, but you know what? As everyone saw it, both opponents of Trump and supporters of Candace Owens were like, wait, what? So she had to make sure that she cleared things up. Just so you guys understand what happened to Trump there in her interview, she can explain it to you. So she took to social media to explain it.
People, you oftentimes forget like how old Trump is. He comes from a generation. I've seen other people that are older have the exact same perspective. Like they came from a time before TV, before internet, before being able to conduct their independent research, and everything that they read in a newspaper that was pitched to them, like they believed that was a reality. And one of those things was, this push for vaccines and believing that people were going to die without vaccines. And so I believe that his support of the vaccine is genuine and it's not based in any corruption at all. I believe also that he only reads the mainstream media news. Believe it or not, I do not believe that Trump reads or partakes in any other news sources. I don't believe that Trump is on the internet or that he necessarily uses the web to try to find obscure websites. I think that he just relies on typical mainstream sources. So I don't think that there's anything evil going on there. I just wanted to say that.
So she did mention there, she doesn't think anything evil is going on. So it sounds like potentially supporters are like, he's gone evil. he's gone to the dark side. Darth Vader's invaded his soul and he wants to take a vaccine. I'm not sure if she's pushing back specifically on that, but she did mention evil. It's nothing evil going on there, but he's just an old man who doesn't know how to read.
Yeah.
Obscure websites, as she pointed out.
Yeah, I know why she's saying that. I don't know if you saw over the weekend, Alex Jones did a video saying that Trump is either ignorant or the most evil man alive for being pro-vaccine, because you know the vaccine actually makes the frogs gay, right? So that's why it's super evil. I don't know, that might be a different conspiracy theory, or it turns people into lizard people or into Rothschilds, I don't know, okay? But Alex Jones, but kidding aside about the different weirdo conspiracy theories, Alex Jones did say that. He said he would be the most evil man alive if he's not a completely ignorant jackass. And so that's the best case scenario in Alex Jones' mind now for Trump. That's why Candace Owens, people are saying Candace Owens versus Donald Trump, and of course I see why, and we're, and there is a little bit of that. But mainly she's defending Trump here against the Alex Jones types. She's like, no, guys, he's an old senile jackass. He doesn't know you're supposed to go to obscure websites, find conspiracy theories, and punch yourself in the face. We all know that that's the thing to do. And since he's not going down the rabbit hole of our insanity, poor guy, he's still getting news from some things that might be true. We haven't been able to brainwash him enough yet. How is this? It's amazing. Trump was basically the establishment's Frankenstein. They're like, sure, we'll get ratings. And the big clown man says he's gonna give us tax cuts. Hey, look, he did give us tax cuts. And we're all having fun. Oops, he turned into a fascist. And now we're all in trouble, right? And now, this is Trump's Frankenstein. Alex Jones, Candace Owens, etc., now turning and going, you're not crazy enough, Frankenstein. Frankenstein 2.0 says smash. Says Frankenstein 1.0 is evil because he once said something that is true, which in the right wing these days is enough to get you canceled. They're having a debate about canceling Donald Trump because he once said something that is true. That is unbelievable.
I'm just trying to figure out when the left wing is going to stop with this cancel culture. They're just a bunch of snowflakes. Now, by the way, it's caused this entire fallout, as you mentioned, among conservatives within the party for support versus non-support for Trump and his sanity. I was going to say craziness. That's usually the case. Former Trump advisor Peter Navarro, if you're not familiar with him, you'll remember him soon. He also went on Newsmax to talk to Eric Bolling, and Eric Bolling was pointing out how what Candace Owens said about Trump was so disrespectful because he's an old guy and you don't want to say all those things about it. It's disrespectful. So to that, Peter Navarro then responded because he's totally team Trump. He said, well, she does like to go viral. Come on, she's a personality, Eric. And she's gonna get some news. After all, we're talking about it. But I'm not going to Candace Owens for medical advice. Oh man, divisions. But also that wasn't enough for Navarro. He also said, all I can say about working for Trump for 4 years that the man is the smartest guy I know.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. I love hearing that.
He went through a very hard time. And when he had the virus, I remember those days at Walter Reed. I don't know if those two sentences connect, like he's the smartest guy he knows and therefore he had the virus and therefore he's at Walter Reed. So is it he's the smartest guy, that's why he had the virus, that's why he's, I'm not sure the connection.
No,
but anyway, he's an amazing person.
Well, it's funny, Jared, because they're all trying to take the edge off one by one while not pissing off the lunatic base, which is now the entirety of the right wing and Republican voters. And if you claim you're a reasonable Republican, whatever. I don't care about your claims. There's a 98% chance you're a lunatic. Okay, so moving on. Yeah. So in this case, the reason Navarro's saying that, remember he was at Walter Reed, is because he had COVID and those are terrifying times. He's saying like maybe he lost a step when he went to the hospital. Yeah, I mean, he's a genius, but if he's saying things you don't agree with, remember he had a tough time with COVID. And maybe that's, or not necessarily lost a step, but since it affected him so much, he's afraid, and that's understandable. So it's like a way of making an excuse for him, but at the same time saying, now remember, of course I'm tough. And since I didn't go through those terrifying times, I mean, because all the tough men, of course, don't believe in science. And this is a random weird weakness of Donald Trump that he believed in science once in his life.
It might be this admission, because I've said that may be a kernel of truth if I'm right. Trump cares about this because the little bit of credit he got for the vaccine development from Biden. Give him one piece of credit and the man is like, he'll be all over you. Like, oh, that's great, vaccines work. Damn it, I can't believe you guys haven't been doing it. Mandates for everybody, that's the next step. So that was the first thing. But then also with that is, these folks they never like Donald Trump. Their backing is making sure they prop him up and continue to keep him happy with them. And then whenever he's gone, they try and take this big void and become that next powerful guy. So really fast, also Marjorie Taylor Greene jumped in on this. There's so many crazies here. I'm gonna go through this really fast. She tweeted about how she just got off the phone with my favorite president of all time, Donald J. Trump. We discussed many issues. People, races in 22, as well as vaccines and mandates. We discussed COVID-19, how awful the virus from China has been, and how horribly it's been politicized. I want you to remember that last sentence when I come back to this. There's 2 more tweets. I have President Trump's permission to tell you all that he is 100% against the mandates, but he still encourages everyone to get the vaccine and booster. That is his position. Apparently he can't say that, he needs you. He also said that if he was president, he would never mandate the vaccines and no one would be fired. And lastly, for everyone that criticizes President Trump about when COVID started with shouldas, couldas, and wouldas, I think he and his administration did the best they could. The virus was brand new and we'd never seen anything like it. Biden deserves the criticism. He has no excuses. Biden deserves the criticism. He has no excuses. Rewind, back up to that first tweet, last sentence. We discussed COVID-19, how off the virus was from China has been, politicizing it, and how horribly it's been politicized. But it's Biden's fault and he should be blamed for it. Which one is it? It's 3 tweets. These aren't tweets from 2019 and then another tweet from 2021 where she forgot what the hell she said. It's in the same thread.
Look, if it was a friend of mine and a fellow progressive, let's pick a random one, Sam Cedar from Majority Report, and he said things that were contradictory, I'd be like, I love you, brother, but those 2 things are contradictory, right? The right wing just literally doesn't see it. They don't think it's contradictory. They think we're allowed to politicize anything, you're not allowed to politicize anything, right? Yeah. That's it, and they genuinely believe that. They don't think that's hypocritical. What, I have power over you, you should never have power over me, even if you're right, I don't care. So we can't communicate with one another. But I love this story because it's a clout chasing tornado. Like everybody's chasing clout and it's swirling and swirling. I agree with Trump, I agree with Candace Owens, I agree with the lunatics, I agree with Alex Jones. I disagree slightly, chase the clout, and this giant twister comes out of it where they're all grabbing for clout desperately and trying to figure out which way is the wind blowing, funny enough, among the right-wing base. Yes, at the same time they're trying to grab some of Trump's clout and at the same time replace him. Yeah. You're 100% right, JR. Yeah. The #1 guy who does that is Tucker Carlson, but Candace Owens, and all of them are angling for, now I like him enough, give me your audience, give me your viewers, give me your fans, give me your loyalists. I like him, but I'm a little better than him. I'm a little crazier. Sometimes he reads newspapers. So that's the right wing in America today.
Keep it real. Peter Navarro said it. He's talking about Candace Owens. She likes to go viral. Come on, she's a personality. It's just saying she doesn't, it's saying what a bunch of lefties and liberals say about her, except after people say that, they go, oh, how dare you hate on her like that? He just called her a grifter, straight up.
Yep. I love it when they fight. That's all. All right, when we come back, we've got a lot more for you guys, including controversy around LeBron James. Should we hate LeBron James? We decide it when we come back. right, back on TYT. Don't forget to rob Too Strong Coffee, okay? They still have the Christmas sales up. It's a mistake. Go, raid them. TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT with only people who tell you to rob your own sponsors. Okay, anyways, and they've already given, but they're suckers. They've already given over $20,000 to progressive causes, right? I mean, they're just saying, come on. Take this stuff. Anyway, AJ Duenas gifted 5 subs, and Glitterous Lady Dread also did the same on Twitch. We appreciate it. Now, some serious comments from Super Chat. Sarah Olson says, Cleveland police stormed our properties in November, pointing AR-15s at us, including a 6- and 3-year-old. They chased a suspect through our yards. I enforced a warrant to search premises because suspect was unarmed. Terrifying. So Sarah, that is terrifying. If you had bad guys running through your house with weapons, you'd be scared to death. But if you got cops running through your house through weapons, you're pretty scared to death, because those are the folks who are most likely to fire quickly. Yep. Keep it real. And so we feel your pain and your concern, and you weren't wrong. Industrial Arts Denver, Colorado writes in with another serious message. Moment of silence for Denver's tattoo community impacted by the mass shooting last night. Lost and beloved include Alicia Cardenas, Alyssa Gunn Maldonado, Danny Schofield, the shooter, and another bystander at work. So our hearts go out to them. Thank you for bringing them up and for naming them in terms of the victims. Mass shootings, in other words, massacres, nonstop, everywhere, especially in Colorado. Gun culture is the reason why. It just is. And look, you disagree with that, that's fine. But we've shown you every stat in the world that shows you the more guns, the more massacres. It's open and shut case. So until we begin to chip away at the gun culture, yes, you will have massacres in your neighborhood. It's coming to a neighborhood near you really soon. So that sucks, but that's the reality. Politics does have consequences. Ingabingi 2000, these are usernames on YouTube, writes in, Cenk, you should email Joy, as in Joy Behar for The View, even though the odds of it doing anything is as good as the Garland odds you mentioned, but even that is worth the possibility of expanding the progressive messaging. I know you guys talked me into it. I'll email Behar, see if we can make a case for a progressive. Parker says, Cenk, do you know if Nina Turner will run again this spring in Ohio 11 primary? We need her, she is our hope. I completely agree with that. No, I do not know yet, and we'll see what happens. We'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and JR with you guys, and Anonymous One, who just joined by hitting the join button below on YouTube, TYT.com/join everywhere else. JR, what's next?
NBA superstar LeBron James, he ignited a bit of a firestorm on Instagram over the weekend when he tweeted out a very well-known and often used meme with Spider-Man. Could be 2 of them, could be 3. In this case, there was 3, where he equated COVID, the common cold, and the flu. And there's the picture there he posted, and with the caption, help me out, folks. Because COVID and flu are the same. Isn't that funny? So while blue checks were arguing on Instagram over it, as well as just random folks were complaining and going back and forth, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Hall of Fame center for the Lakers, Los Angeles Lakers from back in the day, he took to his account. It was his Substack account, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar took to, and had a few words for LeBron James and his approach here, where he said, LeBron James is not only one of the greatest basketball players ever, he's committed to being a leader in the African-American community in the fight against inequality. But his Thursday Instagram meme showing 3 cartoon Spider-Men pointing at each other, one labeled COVID, flu, and cold, with his message, help me out, folks, was a blow to his worthy legacy. He also continued that James's celebrity might affect the black community's choice on COVID-19 vaccination, while pointing to data that highlights COVID-19's effect on communities of color. So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar went into details about the numbers within the black community, the numbers that happen when it comes to anything, when it comes to public health or taking care of folks or giving them access to being well. It's why many times black folks die earlier in this country. It's primarily black women getting a lack of care in hospitals and things like that, and black men just simply not going. That's what happens in general. Of course, generalizations, but these are numbers is why these types of things happen. So he's pointing all that out in a much longer, well thought out manner. But so the question just comes, then what was LeBron thinking? What was the plan here? Was he a little bored? Was it 1 a.m. and he's like, oh, I'm a little drunk. Let me just go ahead and Instagram this out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I think there's a lot of interesting questions here. So he has expressed one other similar thought about defending other players that don't get vaccinated, is my recollection of what LeBron said. I really like LeBron James as a player and a person. I don't know him personally, obviously, but he has oftentimes stepped up and said things that are important and has grabbed a spotlight and directed it towards a cause that needs to be discussed, like police reform in this country, okay? I thought he should have done it earlier, in fact, especially when it happened in Cleveland to Tamir Rice, but it's okay. He got there, and he got there in a strong way. Now there's a great irony here of people on our side seemingly telling him shut up and dribble, which is what Laura Ingraham said to him when she disagreed about his theoretically left-wing positions, right? So now, by the way, Michelle Beadle, former ESPN host, is basically saying LeBron should just shut up. And I don't want to hear him or athletes on issues they have no expertise in. Well, I don't know that he's got an expertise in police reform, but I still want to hear from him on that. So my position on both him and Aaron Rodgers, and now when I bring Aaron Rodgers into it, people get even more mad, is that I disagree with them, but I don't hate them. Is that allowed?
It's such a weird thing because we discussed this earlier. So and the thing is, that question is a valid question because that's what happens. That's why I was talking about the folks on Twitter versus the blue checks and the regular folks. They're just battling and fighting now, and becomes this whole same discussion over, oh well, if COVID's just so much different than the flu and the cold, then how come people are surviving it? So it becomes that same ridiculous argument where there's no facts being thrown around, just a bunch of opinions based in absolutely zero reading or research. So that's what it becomes to. But then people feel they have to go with the, oh man, I hate LeBron James. Why don't he just stop talking? And now we have this heightened sense in social media that you either love the person or you hate him off of whatever the last thing you heard them say was. And it's such a minimizing thought process. LeBron opened that school. LeBron said things about Ahmaud Arbery and how black men are hunted in broad daylight. And he got so much pushback for these types of things. And I was celebrating him for that. If he says something that I disagree with, which is this, because it's not based in science, it's not based in the facts, it's not based in what we've seen for the past nearly 2 years, then I can say, oh man, LeBron, I don't know what's going on there, but I think you're a little off. So tomorrow when he plays, I'm not gonna go, oh, I can't believe that guy believes COVID, the flu, and the cold are the same thing. I can't take it, I'm taking my hat and throwing it. You know, it's ridiculous. He's just wrong here, in my opinion. Now, facts can also weigh that out, whether or not who's right and who's wrong, but it's just an opinion. He's wrong in mine. So, I mean, unless he starts saying that black people shouldn't exist or anyone else shouldn't exist, trans people, gay folks, LGBTQ community, unless you start saying people's lives mean nothing, I mean, that's the point where I'm gonna start going, I'll start questioning your character. Right here, this is just a bit of ignorance, I think.
Yeah, and it comes from his perspective, is my guess, right? And what's his perspective? Well, most of the people he knows are vaccinated, and they're all in incredible physical shape in the NBA. So for a lot of them, if they went through COVID, it probably was minor. So from his perspective, he's thinking, it looked like the cold or the flu for the guys that I knew, right? But LeBron, you got to think broader than that. But guys, the most important thing is there is a line, right? And if you cross the line, as JR says, and you think, oh, you're gonna do what Candace Owens does, and it says, violence in this country is brought to you by black culture. That's a paraphrase of what she said. No, that crosses a line, then you're a terrible person, right? But by definition, if you didn't cross the line, that's just like your opinion, man. And we got to be able to say that. You can't cancel everyone, even in your own mind. Nobody's firing LeBron, trust me, right? But you can't cancel everyone you disagree with. You'll have no one left, okay?
It's gonna happen.
Right, so here I am. I don't agree with LeBron. I don't agree with Aaron Rodgers. I don't hate them. I think that they're allowed to have their opinion, and we could talk about it. Problem solved.
And why can't he talk? That's the chance. Respond and go, hey, LeBron, this is the facts, which a lot of people did. So
yeah.
That's a discussion. It doesn't have to be stop talking. It's here's the facts. Moving on. Let's do this.
Yep.
A TikTok moderator is suing the social media company for PTSD after she had to go through a lot of really graphic videos that, of course, as a content moderator, you have to make sure bad things don't get onto the app. So she's seen many things that no one really wants to see. So let's jump right into this. So there's a proposed class action lawsuit filed in the California Central District Court where her name is Candy Frazier. She said that she spent 12 hours a day moderating videos uploaded to TikTok for a third-party contracting firm named TELUS International. So in that time, she says she witnessed thousands of acts of extreme and graphic violence, including mass shootings, child rape, animal mutilation, cannibalism, gang murder, and genocide. So in the lawsuit, she also says that the working conditions there were also terrible. So she said that in order to deal with the huge volume of content uploaded to TikTok, she and her fellow moderators had to watch between 3 and 10 videos simultaneously, which to me thinks they might miss some things, with new videos loaded in every 25 seconds, at least every 25 seconds. So moderators are also only allowed to take one 15-minute break in the first 4 hours of their shift, then an additional 15-minute break every 2 hours afterwards. So the lawsuit says that ByteDance monitors performance closely and, quote, heavily punishes any time taken away from watching graphic videos. So Frazier said that ByteDance did not adhere to standards for moderators, which are widely accepted across the tech industry. So she's looking to get a little bit of retribution for the working conditions and the fact she had to see the things and now it just is not leaving her brain.
Yeah, so when I first saw the story as just a headline, I thought, oh, come on. Yeah. You're gonna get PTSD from watching TikTok videos. And I get it, you're watching the worst ones. But you sign up for that job and that ain't no PTSD, okay? Then you read the details and you're like, whoa, yeah, that's a brutal job. That's like a Clockwork Orange job, right? Where you gotta keep your eyeballs open at all times and watching the most horrific things that humans have ever done 24/7 with no breaks, 3 at a time, 10 at a time. That is a brutal job. Now you did sign up for it, so I don't know which way, I got no opinion on the lawsuit. They'll adjudicate that in court as to whether TikTok or ByteDance or anybody is responsible. But I do have tremendous sympathy for those workers that have to watch the animal mutilation, the child rape.
Yeah,
I never thought about it, but yeah, that's a job, right? Because people are putting up the worst possible things and we want TikTok to make sure those don't go up. So you do need this job, but it's like I said, it's like a Black Mirror episode. I can't believe somebody has to do that, and my heart goes out to the people who do that every day.
Yeah. So a quick response from the group that said, "This is the graphic 6, you guys. TELUS said its employees could raise concerns through, quote, several internet channels, but that Frazier has never done so. Her allegations are entirely inconsistent with our policies and practices." An attorney for Frazier did not respond for that comment, but apparently it's supposed to be some of the process they wanted her to go through. But at this point, I mean, there's a highlight on what these people have to see.
Real quick, JR. Look, even at this job, we watch some brutal videos, and I know sometimes you even said this is too much, right? Yeah. So, but how do you fix it? Somebody's got to watch it so that it doesn't go up on air and more people don't see it. I don't know that I've got a good answer for that. I mean, I don't know if she should win the lawsuit or not, but at the same time, probably more breaks.
Yeah,
right?
There's got to be some work changes here,
Yeah, and it's going to cost TikTok more money, but you got to do that to keep the sanity of those particular workers.
They're not going broke.
Yeah, and they don't look like they're going broke. That's totally right. All right, and ask me anything, JR and I. If you're a member, hit the join button below if you're on YouTube. You can ask us anything. Holy cow, let's go do that now. All right, we'll see you there.
Nearly half of Americans are working in low-wage jobs that pay the median annual wages of $18,000.
if these corporations actually paid people what they need to live so they're not being subsidized by the government, then the government wouldn't have to subsidize it.
Your taxpayer dollars are going to sustain this $7.25 minimum wage. You are paying to get paid minimum wage. And if you're not making minimum wage, you're paying for other people to get paid minimum wage.
Wages have not gone up in 40 years. Adjusted for inflation, 40 years. Meanwhile, by the way, productivity is sky high. Do you know that if your wages kept up with productivity, how hard you're working, in other words, the minimum wage right now would be over $20 an hour. Corporations buy off politicians and use their corporate power to make sure